بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة على رسوله الكريم. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala in the Quran in many places explains the word wa'ada. The Almighty Allah has made promises. Promise to look after this deen, promise to look after Quran. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala says, يُرِيدُونَ لِيُطْفِئُوا نُورَ اللَّهِ بِأَفْوَاهِهِمْ. The whole world will gather in different ways, with different powers, to somehow blow out this one light of Iman. And normally at a candle, that flick that's on top, that light is very small. But the person who blows it, he just feels it's a small blow. Whew, it's out. Iman and Islam has always looked like that. That the eyes of the enemy, when they looked at it, they could never see something big in it. It was always a small light. That is just one blow and it's gone. But Wallahu mutimmu nurihi, where Allah Tabarak said, but we'll keep it burning somehow or the other. And in today's time, as we are going through many revolutions, and one of the revolutions we saw in the recent time was the revolution of Turkey. And then we had this military coup that took place a while ago. And whoever read about it, learned about it, saw something in it, he would know that behind that failure of that military coup was only the hands of Almighty Allah. So much of planning, so much of effort. And the people of Iman were so oblivious, so unaware of what's going to happen. But whatever they tried failed. There we understand what is called a wa'ada. When Allah Tabarak Ta'ala makes a promise for something, and when the time comes for it to happen, and the whole world gets together. So at that time then, the mind went racing through the history of Turkey. That from the time of Mustafa Kemal, what a change has happened in that land. And how Allah Tabarak Ta'ala has brought it to where it's today. People who saw it at that time never dreamt that Islam will ever come alive. But the manner it's come alive. So in that one desire was just to read a bit about that period from Mustafa Kemal until the period of today, to see how the wa'ada of Allah applies itself. And how Allah Tabarak Ta'ala in hidden ways has made this world move. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was asked that when fitan will reach its heights, then how will the ummah ever survive? Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam will say that if I'm alive at that time, I will suffice you. And a Nabi is needed normally to fight away evil. But then he would say, and if I am not alive at that time, then Allah will suffice you through the pious. In that two things were mentioned. One is that this ummah will never be a yatim, an orphan. That this ummah is driven by the force of Almighty Allah. And Allah Tabarak Ta'ala will never leave this ummah. And the other is that there will in every era be certain individuals. Not one man who is called Salih, a person who got an inside burn. But Allah Tabarak Ta'ala will make one man stand up against the whole country. And he will show the world after that. And it will be impossible against the media, against the military, against the schools, against the universities. One man's effort. But Allah Tabarak Ta'ala makes it. And we have seen around us, in our countries, in the countries around. After 100 years, one man's name is mentioned. He did this. You wonder, one man, what could he do? So in the lands of Turkey, 3 names became famous over this period of what is called revolution. And very fast we will go through them, just to understand the divine workings of Allah Tabarak Ta'ala and how this deen will move. There was a great Sheikh of Turkey at that era whose name was Sheikh Ali Ridhwan Bazzaz. He was a man of a very high spiritual level. It was the time of the Ottoman Sultanate. In the circles of Sultan Abdul Hamid, very after that he was going to be disposed, thereafter locked up. But in his circles he had ulama gatherings. In the ulama gatherings there was one mufti whose name was Sheikh Ali Haidar. He was an alim of the Hanafi fiqh, but he would give fatwa in the 4 madhabs. His knowledge on tafsir of Quran was so unique that in front of the Sultan they would tell a Qari read, and the Qari would read any 10 verses he chose. So the Sheikh Ali Haidar would now sit on the chair, and in front of him would be a group of about 20 to 30 selected scholars. And now they would start asking the tafsir of these verses. He wasn't giving tafsir like me to you, but he was giving to scholars of the time without preparation because he doesn't know what the Qari will read. And in that manner his dars would be taking place. The Shaykh now he goes to a certain town in which this Ali Ridha Bazzaz is. And Allah Ta'ala wants the world to show what is the happenings or the doings of a creator. In his dars he is giving a bayan, and in the bayan he speaks about many things that he is not happy with. And one of the things that he mentions is, in this area there is a certain person called Ali Ridha. And there are certain actions of his which I'm not pleased with, happy with. In a very harsh manner without really finding out if the Shaykh was doing it, he mentions. Certain murids of that area, understanding the greatness of the Shaykh and what a man of Sunnah he was, becomes very upset. So one of them go to the Shaykh to say that this great mufti came from Istanbul, but the words he sent against you sitting on the mimbar in a town that you did everything. So Allah Ta'ala inspires that Shaykh and he says that how Allah Ta'ala melted for Dawood alayhi salatu wassalam iron. This mufti will melt in front of our hands. And Allah Ta'ala made it. That night he couldn't sleep. And a long story made short, he understood that night I said a word against a very great man. He can't sleep. He can't do anything. He wants to write, he can't write. So the next day he goes out looking for who is the Shaykh. That I took his name in one bayan and my entire knowledge went. Now he finds this person, he asks for mafti and Allah Ta'ala makes him link. It's a very long story but very fast he becomes so close to the Shaykh. That at the time of the death of the Shaykh now he is told you will run this entire thing. He takes over at that time now when this entire situation of Turkey now is changing. Because of the change he also is put under arrest. So that night he writes while he and his friends are writing a plea to the government now. That tomorrow either it will be death sentence, they will be hung. For crimes that they never committed except that they were on deen. So they had to write pleas, 20 page, 15 page, 18 page, whatever, to explain why you are innocent. So his friend says, I had a dream that night. In the dream I went to a man who's giving money out. You take a card, you put the card and he gives you some money. So instead of taking one card, I took two cards. On behalf of the man seeing the dream, on behalf of the Shaykh Ali Haidar. He says, when I went there, the man gave me a coin, money, but the coin was broken. So I looked at the broken coin, I was upset. I told him, can't you give me a complete coin? So in the dream, he returns it, the man looks at it and he gives him. So he wakes up. He says to Shaykh Ali Haidar, what a dream I had. What do you think it means? So the Shaykh says that it seems that tomorrow I will not have to do much. But you will go forward and you will explain our case, mine and yours, because you went with two cards. And the man who's listening, he will want to somehow find both of us guilty. And both of us can be hung. But Allah Ta'ala's decision will take over, and without his understanding, he'll let us go free. The unique happenings of the Zat of Allah. So that man was busy writing his plea. Shaykh Ali Haidar on the other side, he was reading something, and every now and then he's making a mark, a scratch on his bed. So the person asked him, what's the scratch? He says, I saw my Shaykh in a dream. And he said to me, read Inna Fatahna Laka Fatham Mubina, the entire surah 33 times tonight. And Allah will make you go free tomorrow. Because you got a lot of work to do still. And the third person sitting in their cell is a Shaykh called Shaykh Atif. So Shaykh Ali Haidar got so happy with his dream. So he says to the Shaykh Atif, if you also read 33 times Inna Fatahna Laka Fatham Mubina, you will also go free tomorrow. So that Shaykh Atif, he also had his plea. He had already written 15 pages. So he squashed it in front of him. And he says, you dreamt of your Shaykh, I dreamt of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he said to me that you don't write any plea, because tomorrow I want to spend time with you. From the three of them, that Shaykh Atif, he was the one who was the most innocent, meaning they had nothing against him. If they had to have a court case the next day, the most they felt is he will be detained for 2 years or 3 years. As for the other two, they really had that fear we'll get the death sentence. So they looked at him and said, there's no way you will be executed. If someone has to be executed, it's us. So he said, I already accepted the dawah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm going tomorrow. And Allah Tabarak Ta'ala made it. One was chosen to be there, and the other two were chosen to be left in this world. Sheikh Ali Haider now, he comes out at a time where Mustafa Kamal's regime has taken over. The military is everywhere. It's the era of 1950, 1960. Although he comes out of prison for 25 years, he's kept under surveillance. Anything he says, every place he goes is followed. So this is a man burning. He's burning with the desire where he sees around him Islam being raped practically. Woman in burqa at one time which he saw when he was young, now there's no burqa. It was a time when they used to have ceremonies in the open markets. In the market you would get Muslim women coming, complete with the burqa. And then they would have all men around, everyone clapping. And as that woman walks, one man comes front, and then he puts his hand on her burqa and he lifts it. And he reveals it like a naked woman. And when he does that, everyone starts clapping, and then they scream, this is freedom for the woman. And then that woman walks, and another woman comes. There was a time when movies were being made, mocking salah, mocking ibadat. They would have movies where a man is performing salah, somebody else will come up behind him. He's saying, this imam is taking too long. He'll pull his beard to make salam this way. The whole group will start laughing. It was open mockery. Anyone who had a beard, he was called a priest. Anyone who wore an imama, he was called the very high priest. Meaning this is for the Christians, not for the Muslim. Any woman who dared put on the burqa, the young children would run past her and call her monster, you ogre. And the bigger people would call her you prostitute. What a time it was, and this sheikh is moving around at that time. Burning with the desire somehow to tell Allah Tabarak Ta'ala at that time, 1923 most likely, it was the Republic of Turkey. In the year 1929, 9 years after the Republic of Turkey was established, 1929, there's a man who's a mu'adhin called Ali, in a farm outlying land, very pious, but he also sees the masjid is empty. He comes from his farm to give the adhan, but there's no one in the masjid to perform salah. His wife is also very pious. She has to take out the animals to herd. On the way going with the animals, she finds that her goat has eaten some grass. She comes home with this one fikr, that whose grass the goat ate. What a level of piety at that time. She goes to the owner of that farmyard. She says, my goat or my cow ate from your land. That man would look at her like, so what? Where I lose grass? She says, it's not allowed, it's your grass, not my grass. The man says, so what? That woman says, I will milk that animal. And whatever milk I get in that duration, I'm going to give it all over to you. We cannot eat of that milk. That level of piety, Allah Tabarak Ta'ala chose that family. They tried for a child very hard, miscarriage after miscarriage after miscarriage. After every salah, the muazzin is making dua. After every adhan, that, oh Allah, give me a child. And now the woman sees in a dream one moon is falling. It falls in her lap. The era of Mustafa Kamal at its uruj, at its height, when no one can ever think Islam will come alive again in Turkey. Now she sees the moon falls in her lap. And as it hits, that entire land of Turkey gets filled with light. Now she wakes up. What's happening? She says, I think we're going to get a child. A boy is born. The father is thrilled. He takes it to the sheikh of the village. He puts that boy in front. That man, that sheikh, his name is Mahmud. So he looks at the boy and he says, may Allah give him my name. May Allah give him my wisdom. And may Allah give him taqwa, which is way, way, way more beyond my taqwa. So the father gets thrilled with the dua. He comes home. The wife says, what will name the child? He says, Mahmud. And in today's time, if you go in Turkey, one name stands high. And that is called Mahmud Afandi. The world perhaps never knew him, because Turkey was a land that had no deen. But Allah Tabarak Ta'ala made it, that something had to be sent from Sheikh Ali Haider. So the Sheikh Mahmud, many years later, he's in the military. He has become an alim, but he's serving military service. He comes to a grave of a great saint, Ali Bazzaz. He stands in front of that grave and he thinks, what is happening to Turkey? And he says, oh Allah, how will things happen? On the other side, you got Ali Haider. who's at the end now of his life, and he can't talk, he's under surveillance. He's making dua far away in another land, Istanbul, that, oh Allah, all this I got within me is going to be lost. He sleeps that night, he has a dream that there is one boy in a land very far away, Burhinda, where the grave of your Sheikh Ali Bazzaz is. You make a trip with all your murids and go look for that boy. He's not told who the boy is, what his name is. You say, go there. Mahmoud Effendi, he has a dream that there's a man who will come looking for you. When you see him, you must know this is yours. And Allah Tabarak Ta'ala makes what a unique union. They say the man comes to that area, he sends his murids out, go look for a unique boy. They say to him, what a description that is unique. How does he look? He said, I also don't know. But in this town there will be someone unique. And Allah Tabarak Ta'ala makes it, this young Mahmoud comes. And he looks at that sheikh in the masjid, and something just tells him, this is the man you have been looking for years. What I'm trying to say is one man, to one man, to one man. At the age of year 1960, Sheikh Ali Haider passes away. And Mahmoud Effendi is told, whatever I had in me now, you will spread it in the land of Turkey. The person writing his life story, and this is what is called the divine help of Allah. He writes, understand the workings of Allah. In the next 50 years, surrounded by the military efforts, surrounded by the propaganda of Western media, the schools are against you, the media is against you, the university is against you. This one Mahmoud, sleeping 3 hours a night, he's making safar in the length and breadth of Turkey. In 50 years, after 50 years, he made one trip for Umrah. It was the year 2005. He had to leave so many murids and muta'alliqeen behind who wanted to come because the government said no way. 50,000 were able to accompany him. When they landed at the Haram, the people said, we had never seen something like this. In the land of Turkey, where did you get 50,000? People in burqa, people with beards, people with imama. They would be told, these are only the ones coming, the ones he left behind in Turkey is huge. The man says, in an era of 50 years, surrounded by the regime of Mustafa Kemal, every town he went, the people wanted to give him a hadiyah. He said, I only asked for one hadiyah, that you open 2 madrasas in this town. One only for girls, that no man will teach there. One only for boys. The boy who comes an alim by me, he must teach his wife. She then will teach in the girls' madrasa. He said, even if your madrasa is as small as a chicken coop, where the chicken is kept, he said, I'll accept that hadiyah from you. Because Allah will make that madrasa the safety of the lands of Turkey. Every town he went, 2 madrasas will open up. Today he is still alive at the end of his life. But when I read this, I'm thinking what that man must be looking. That when he sits at one majlis of his, and then they tell the crowd that the sheikh will be having a gathering, come, and you'll see the hundreds of thousands gathering. And when he sees that with beards and imama, and he's seeing the entire land of Turkey changing today, then at that time you read one verse, that Wallahu mutimmu nurihi. That when Allah took a promise that we will make sure this light will spread in the world, He said a miracle, but we see those miracles happening. So because I read through those waqiyat and it left a unique kayfiyat on me, that how one man Allah uses for what work of deen, mujtaba, He just selects. So why I'm saying this here is, one is to be unique, what men they were, and the other is to understand the power of Almighty Allah in selecting. That when He selects, what He will do. So we end with this here that we say, oh Allah, in the end of the day, it's your selection. And as you selected that one and that one and that one, then although we are not worthy of being selected, but in your grace we also ask that you look upon us in Azadwal and you select us also. Because the time is coming where revolution is happening. One individual, may Allah Tabarak Ta'ala select all of us. And through us may Allah Tabarak Ta'ala make that amount of light move in the world till the day of Qiyamah, then continues in this. Akhirat.